Hello everyone. In the past few days, the entertainment world has said goodbye to several artists whose work touched audiences across generations. Through film, television, and stage performances, they helped create stories that many people still remember today. In this video, we will briefly look back at their lives and careers, the roles that defined them, the projects they helped bring to life, and the lasting influence they left within the world of entertainment. But although each artist followed a different path, they shared one thing in common, a dedication to storytelling and a commitment to their craft that continues to resonate with viewers even today. If you enjoy thoughtful updates about film and television history, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now let's begin. Sondra Lee Gash, a Broadway stage actress and dancer, remembered for her performances in classic musicals such as Peter Pan and Hello, Dolly, passed away on February the 23rd, 2026, at her apartment in New York. She was 97. According to longtime friend and colleague Joshua Ellis, she died of natural causes. News of her passing quickly spread through the Broadway community, where many artists and theatergoers expressed their sorrow at the loss of a performer whose life was closely intertwined with the stage for nearly a century. In the public's memory, Sondra Lee remains closely associated with the role of Tiger Lily in the 1954 musical Peter Pan, performed alongside Mary Martin at the Winter Garden Theatre. The later color television broadcast of the production drew an audience of 65 million viewers, becoming a notable milestone for Broadway at the time. But years later, she continued to leave her mark as Minnie Fay in the original production of Hello, Dolly, where her agility and charm, shaped by her background in ballet, made her as a familiar presence to theatre audiences. Over a career spanning more than 9 decades, Lee not only performed, but also spent many years teaching and mentoring younger generations of artists. She coached performers such as Jane Fonda, Sally Field, and John Malkovich, and also served as an artistic consultant on several films. Her dedication and professional discipline led many colleagues to regard Lee as a quiet guide behind the stage lights. Her final public appearance took place at Carnegie Hall during a Hello, Dolly concert, when Lee, the last surviving principal member of the original cast, received a long standing ovation from the audience. Though the stage has now closed for her, Sondra Lee's presence remains in Broadway's memory as a symbol of a life steadfastly devoted to the art of performance. Brad Arnold, the lead singer and principal songwriter of the American rock band 3 Doors Down, passed away on February 7, 2026, at the age of 47, after battling stage 4 renal cell carcinoma that had spread to his lungs. The band confirmed the news on the social media. Arnold's passing prompted an outpouring of grief from fans and fellow musicians. In an official statement, members of 3 Doors Down wrote, "We will deeply miss him and remember him forever." For fans of early 2000s rock music, Brad Arnold was the voice behind well-known songs such as Kryptonite, Here Without You, When I'm Gone, and Loser. The band 3 Doors Down was formed in Mississippi in the mid-1990s and quickly became one of the most popular rock acts on American radio. The song Kryptonite, the hit that brought the band widespread recognition, was written by Arnold when he was just 15 years old during a math class, a modest beginning for a song that would later become a defining moment in his career. His warm, resonant voice and emotionally direct songwriting helped 3 Doors Down's music connect with generations of listeners. Over the course of their career, the band won 3 Billboard Music Awards, and their debut album, The Better Life, became one of the best-selling albums in the United States in 2000, according to Billboard. As a founding member, lead singer, and the band's original drummer, Arnold was widely credited with helping shape the band's musical identity. In the final years of his life, Arnold spoke openly about his battle with cancer, yet maintained a calm and composed outlook that many admired. He once said, "I'm not afraid. I truly am not afraid of it at all." Although his journey has come to an end, Brad Arnold's voice and songs continue to live on in the memories of generations of rock music fans. Frederick Wiseman, the American documentary filmmaker renowned for his ability to capture the strange and the wonderful of everyday life, passed away on February 16, 2026, at the age of 96. His family announced the news in a joint statement with Zipporah Films. No cause of death was provided. Even so, the news left many documentary film lovers and those who had followed his work quietly reflective, as if a patient, enduring gaze upon ordinary life had come to an end. Though Wiseman's professional legacy is closely associated with Titicut Follies, 1967, his first film, which caused a sensation for its portrayal of a Massachusetts institution that housed mentally ill offenders. The film was so controversial that the state of Massachusetts attempted to ban its public screening for more than 2 decades. In the years that followed, he continued to create films observing life within social institutions. On From High School, 1968, to State Legislature, 2007, and Ex Libris, 2017. What many viewers remember about Wiseman is his patient and direct way of observing life. He rarely used narration or staging, instead allowing everyday moments to tell their own stories. In 2016, Wiseman received an honorary Academy Award. In his speech at the ceremony, he said, "Filmmaking is always an adventure." His dedication was also reflected in his meticulous working process. Wiseman often directed, produced, and edited his films himself. While making National Gallery, he spent 3 months filming continuously, working 12 to 14 hours a day, and gathering about 170 hours of footage before selecting material for the final film. Filmmaker Errol Morris once said of him, "I wish I could be more like him." Frederick Wiseman's legacy is a vivid record of human life in its everyday settings, and that patient, deeply humane perspective will endure long after his passing. Grady Demond Wilson, the American actor widely known for his role as Lamont Sanford in the popular sitcom Sanford and Son, passed away on January 31, 2026, at the age of 79. According to his son, Demond Wilson Jr., he died at his home in Palm Springs after a period of illness. Wilson's passing prompted many television viewers to express their sorrow, as his portrayal of Lamont Sanford had become a familiar part of the memories of generations of audiences. The defining role of Wilson's career was the character Lamont Sanford in the sitcom Sanford and Son. On screen, Lamont appeared as a practical and level-headed son who often had to manage the comedic antics of his father. This contrast created the show's distinctive rhythm of humor and helped make Wilson's character relatable to viewers. Premiering on NBC in 1972, Sanford and Son quickly became one of the most successful programs on American television. Before that, Wilson had drawn attention with his appearance in a 1971 episode of All in the Family, a performance that led to his casting as Lamont. After the success of Sanford and Son, Wilson went on to appear in several other television projects, including Baby, I'm Back, and The New Odd Couple. However, these shows lasted only a short time. As the years passed, his life gradually moved in a different direction. In the 1980s, Wilson overcame a cocaine addiction, an important turning point in his life. Though he later became a minister and spent many years preaching his faith. Although his career followed many different paths, the character Lamont Sanford that Demond Wilson brought to life remains remembered as a meaningful part of the history of American television sitcoms. Yvonne Glee Lime Feddersen, the American actress remembered by audiences for her role as Arlene Logan in the film I Was a Teenage Werewolf, passed away on January 23, 2026, at the age of 90. According to a statement from the organization Child Help, she died of natural causes at her home in Paradise Valley, Arizona. Her passing prompted expressions of sorrow from many colleagues and fans. In her acting career, Yvonne Lime was best remembered for her role as Arlene Logan in the 1957 film I Was a Teenage Werewolf. On screen, Arlene appeared as a gentle and sincere young woman who stood beside the character portrayed by Michael Landon in what was then a youth-oriented horror story. With her natural style of acting and her fresh, wholesome presence, Lime became a familiar face in Hollywood films aimed at younger audiences during the 1950s. However, her most enduring impact came from the work she pursued after leaving the spotlight. In 1959, together with actress Sarah O'Meara, she co-founded the organization Child Help after witnessing the difficult circumstances faced by orphaned children during a goodwill trip to Japan. From a small initial effort, the organization gradually developed into a nationwide network across the United States, supporting programs that protect children and assisting more than 14 million children and families affected by abuse and neglect, bringing many of them protection, support, and the opportunity to live in a safer environment. Sarah O'Meara once said of her friend, "Yvonne was my closest friend and partner in this mission for more than 6 decades." The life of Yvonne Lime Feddersen is therefore remembered not only through her roles on screen, but also through the compassion and enduring efforts she devoted to helping protect children in need. Michael Douglas, born in 1944, is one of the American actors whose career has spanned several important eras of Hollywood. He is known for portraying characters marked by power and complexity, most notably Gordon Gekko in the film Wall Street, 1987, a role that earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor and became a familiar figure in popular culture. In addition to his acting career, Douglas also left a mark as the producer of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 1975, a film that went on to win several major awards in cinema. On screen, Michael Douglas often appears with a calm and serious presence. His sharp gaze, deep voice, and restrained pacing allow him to create characters who are both compelling and unpredictable. Whether portraying an ambitious financier, a man confronting personal crisis, or a powerful figure facing moral choices, he tends to express his characters through clarity and psychological depth, rather than overt dramatics. And Michael Douglas's career has developed over many decades, not because of a fixed image, but because of his ability to choose stories with weight and his way of ensuring that each character retains a sense of human depth. From television to film and later projects, he has often appeared in works that raise questions about power, ambition, and the consequences of choice. For that reason, when people look back on the journey of Michael Douglas, they do not remember only the films he has appeared in. What continues to define him is the way he brings something very human to each role. The sense that behind those powerful characters is always a person confronting the consequences of his own decisions. To understand the path Michael Douglas would later take, it is necessary to begin with his early years, a childhood connected to a film family, yet one that also experienced significant changes in family life at an early stage. Michael Kirk Douglas was born on September 25, 1944, in New Brunswick, New Jersey. He is the son of Kirk Douglas, an actor who was rapidly rising in post-war Hollywood, and Diana Dill, an actress born in Bermuda. At the time Michael was born, both of his parents were still very young and pursuing acting careers. In the years that followed, as Kirk Douglas's reputation grew, their small family gradually entered the distinctive orbit of the film world. Along with that change, family life also began to shift, and the relationship between Michael's parents started to show signs of strain. In 1951, when he was about 7 years old, his parents officially divorced. The separation became a major turning point in his childhood, an event that Michael Douglas would later describe as an unforgettable memory. After the divorce, Michael and his younger brother Joel Douglas moved with their mother to Westport, Connecticut. From that point on, Michael Douglas's life unfolded in a rather unusual way. In this new place, he grew up much like many other boys in the American suburbs, going to school each day, making friends, and passing through relatively quiet teenage years. Yet outside that small world, the name Kirk Douglas, his father, was appearing more and more often on movie screens and in newspapers as his film career was entering a highly visible period. The existence of these two worlds created a unique experience. In school, Michael Douglas was not always particularly noticeable. He attended several private schools, including Choate Rosemary Hall, a long-established school in Connecticut. His years there exposed him to a disciplined educational environment and various artistic activities, but at that time, his future path was still not entirely clear. Meanwhile, his father's image continued to grow in the public eye. Kirk Douglas became one of the prominent film stars of the 1950s through a series of successful films. For a boy growing up, carrying the surname of a famous person was both a source of pride and an invisible weight. It raised questions earlier than usual who he was and what path he would eventually choose. Michael Douglas's childhood was therefore shaped by a rather distinctive reality. Growing up in a family closely connected to the film industry, while also experiencing early changes in family life after his parents separated. He grew up at the intersection of a family deeply linked to cinema and a fairly ordinary daily environment. And this combination appears to have formed the foundation of how he later viewed the world, understanding the glow of fame while also recognizing the very human limits behind it. As he grew older and began facing decisions about his future, cinema gradually became a real possibility. Not only because of family tradition, but also because he had grown up surrounded by film stories and people connected to the craft of filmmaking. And that decision eventually led Michael Douglas to the University of California, Santa Barbara, where he studied drama and graduated in the late 1960s. Studying drama marked the first step that brought Michael Douglas closer to the world of film. From there, the path of his career began to take shape, a journey that would later pass through many important turning points. After graduating from college and deciding to pursue acting, Michael Douglas began taking his first steps in the film industry. But his entry into the profession did not begin with major roles or easy opportunities. In the early years after leaving university, he moved through smaller roles and projects that did not immediately leave a strong impression. Even though he carried the Douglas name, already familiar in Hollywood, Michael understood that family fame could not replace the process of proving himself in the profession. The first step that brought Michael Douglas to the attention of a wider audience came through television. In 1972, he joined the series The Streets of San Francisco, starring alongside veteran actor Carl Malden. In the show, Douglas played Inspector Steve Keller, a young police officer gradually growing into his profession. The character appeared regularly on television over several seasons, and Douglas's calm, natural style helped make Keller relatable to viewers. The success of the series not only introduced him to a broad audience, but also gave him valuable experience working in front of the camera over an extended period. However, Michael Douglas did not want to remain only in television. As his career became stable, he chose a more ambitious path, moving into the role of a film producer. This decision was closely connected to the Project One, Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 1975, a film adapted from Ken Kesey's novel. Earlier, his father, Kirk Douglas, had tried several times to bring the story to the screen but had not succeeded. The film tells the story of Randall McMurphy, a rebellious man who is placed in a psychiatric hospital and gradually comes into conflict with the strict system of control there. Directed by Milos Forman, warned the story is not only about one individual resisting authority, but also raises broader questions about freedom and control in society. When it was released, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest won 5 major Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. This success placed Michael Douglas in a new position within the film industry, no longer mentioned simply as the son of a famous actor, but as a producer capable of selecting and developing influential projects. So, after this turning point, Michael Douglas returned to acting and gradually entered the most dynamic phase of his career. In 1984, he appeared in the adventure film Romancing the Stone. Playing Jack Colton, a somewhat free-spirited adventurer, Douglas presented a different image from his earlier roles. The character combined humor with the confidence of someone accustomed to danger. The film was a major commercial success and helped Douglas establish his place in Hollywood's mainstream entertainment cinema. The peak of his career came in 1987 with Oliver Stone's film Wall Street. In the film, Michael Douglas portrayed Gordon Gekko, a powerful financier known for his ambition and hard-edged business philosophy. The character believes that the power of money can shape nearly every decision in the business world. Mr. Gekko also became a symbolic figure of a particular moment in the American economy, when ambition and financial power were at the center of many social debates. Michael Douglas portrayed Gordon Gekko with calm authority, sharp dialogue, and a controlled performance. One of the character's most famous lines, "Greed, for lack of a better word, is good," became widely quoted whenever people discussed the financial culture of that era. The role earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor and became one of the most memorable characters of his career. After Wall Street, Michael Douglas continued appearing in several films that had a strong impact on audiences. Fatal Attraction, 1987, tells the story of an extramarital relationship that leads to serious consequences. In the role of a man facing personal crisis because of his own decisions, Douglas portrayed the character with restraint, allowing audiences to see the consequences of choices that initially seemed impulsive. In Basic Instinct, 1992, he played Detective Nick Curran, a character drawn into a tense investigation filled with suspicion. The film generated considerable discussion when it was released, but it also demonstrated Douglas's ability to take on psychologically layered roles. The characters he chose during this period were often people facing difficult decisions, where power, ambition, and personal responsibility intersected. This approach to selecting roles helped Michael Douglas maintain his place in Hollywood for decades. He did not appear only in straightforward entertainment films, but often participated in stories that raised broader questions about people and society. That allowed him to maintain a steady presence in the film industry, even as audience tastes changed over time. Alongside his acting career, Michael Douglas also produced several film and television projects in the years that followed. Over many decades of work, he became one of the familiar faces of Hollywood, with a career spanning television, film, and major collaborative projects. According to various financial estimates related to the entertainment industry, Michael Douglas's net worth in recent years has been placed in the hundreds of millions of US dollars, largely derived from his film career, producing work, and other projects within the entertainment business. However, throughout his journey, the milestones of his career have tended to be remembered more often than the financial figures. Looking back on this path, Michael Douglas's career did not develop in a straight line. He began with small roles, moved through television, experimented with producing, and gradually reached major success with iconic performances. His persistence in choosing projects and his ability to portray complex characters helped him maintain his place in Hollywood across many decades. Although his film career had taken Michael Douglas to the heights of Hollywood, his life still held unexpected challenges. After decades of continuous work, a major health crisis forced him to step away from the familiar rhythm of his career. In 2010, Michael Douglas announced that he had been diagnosed with advanced throat cancer. The news quickly drew the attention of the public and the media because at that time he remained one of the well-known faces of American cinema. For many people, Douglas represented the image of an experienced actor who always appeared confident and composed. For that reason, the fact that he had to confront a serious illness surprised many viewers. The treatment process lasted several weeks and involved radiation and chemotherapy, a period that was far from easy. These treatments often leave the body exhausted and require patients to completely change their daily routines. For someone who had been accustomed to a demanding work schedule for many years, pausing all professional activity was not only a physical challenge but also an emotional one. Yet what drew people's attention was not only the illness itself, but the way Michael Douglas faced it. He did not choose silence or withdraw entirely from public view. Instead, Douglas spoke openly about his condition in several interviews. He discussed the treatment process and its difficulties while maintaining a calm and practical attitude. During the few public appearances he made at the time, Douglas looked noticeably thinner. His voice was also affected by the treatment. However, what stood out most was the calm manner in which he spoke about his condition. Douglas addressed it quite directly, with a composed and clear tone. He faced the situation as it was and moved through each stage of treatment with persistence. At his side during this time was Catherine Zeta-Jones, the wife who had stood with him for many years. In later conversations, Douglas often mentioned the support of his family as an important source of strength during the most difficult period. As health became the highest priority, many things that had once seemed central to his career moved into the background. After several months of treatment, by 2011, doctors confirmed that the cancer had gone into remission. The news brought relief to his family, colleagues, and admirers. For Douglas, it was not only a medical milestone but also a moment that led him to reflect on many aspects of his life. The experience changed the way he looked at time, work, and the relationships around him. In interviews following his recovery, Douglas often said that the illness helped him better understand the value of simple things: health, family, and the ability to continue doing the work he loved. For an actor who had spent decades under the lights of the screen, facing illness could have been an overwhelming challenge. But for Michael Douglas, that period was not the end of the journey. It was more like a necessary pause, a time for his body to recover and for him to reflect on the path he had traveled. And after passing through that test, he returned to his work carrying a calm perspective and a depth of experience that he may not have had before. But in Michael Douglas's life, there were challenges that were even harder to face than illness. One of the greatest pains in Michael Douglas's life involved his eldest son, Cameron Douglas. Cameron was born in 1978 and is the son of Michael Douglas and his first wife, Deandra Luca. Growing up in a well-known family, Cameron drew public attention early on as the son of a famous actor and the grandson of film legend Kirk Douglas. However, King Cameron's life did not unfold as easily as many people assumed. As he grew older, he faced a number of personal struggles and gradually became involved with substance use. These issues eventually led to serious legal troubles. In 2009, Cameron Douglas was arrested and later convicted on drug-related charges. The sentence required him to spend several years in prison, a period that not only changed Cameron's life, but also became a major challenge for the entire family. For Michael Douglas, this was an especially difficult time. While his son was facing the consequences of past mistakes, Douglas himself was also battling cancer. The two major crises unfolded almost at the same time, creating an enormous emotional burden. In later interviews, Douglas did not avoid speaking about his son's situation. He acknowledged that during the years when his career demanded much of his time, there were moments when he could not be fully present for his family. But those reflections led him to look inward more often, with the self-questioning of a father. Even so, rather than turning away from his son, Michael Douglas chose to stand beside him. He visited Cameron regularly during the time he was incarcerated and publicly expressed hope that his son would rebuild his life after moving through that difficult period. It was not an easy story. Families confronting addiction often move through complicated emotions: hope, disappointment, and hope again. When for Michael Douglas, it became a journey that required patience and the understanding that some problems cannot be solved by fame or influence. Alongside the challenges involving his son, Michael Douglas also faced another loss in his family. In 2020, his father, the legendary actor Kirk Douglas, passed away at the age of 103. Kirk Douglas's passing closed a very long chapter in Michael's life. The relationship between father and son had moved through many emotions: admiration, like the quiet pressure of growing up in the shadow of a major star, and eventually a deeper understanding as both men passed through many stages of life. When Kirk Douglas died, Michael Douglas shared that he felt grateful to have had many years to understand and grow closer to his father. For him, Kirk Douglas's legacy was not only found in the famous films he left behind, but also in the determination and strength of character he showed throughout his life. These family experiences, though painful, also changed the way Michael Douglas looked at life. After many years under the lights of the screen and the success of his career, he came to understand that the most difficult challenges in a person's life often come from deeply personal places, things that cannot be resolved by fame or achievements. Those experiences ultimately gave greater depth to Michael Douglas's life story. It became not only the journey of a film star, but also the journey of a person learning to face loss and responsibility within his family. The challenges within his family and the difficult years he experienced led Michael Douglas to look at his life in a different way. But rather than withdrawing after those difficult periods, he gradually found a slower and more balanced way of living, where family and close relationships became the most important things. After decades of working almost non-stop in the film industry, Douglas began choosing his projects more carefully, and he no longer appeared as frequently as he had in earlier years, but he continued to take part in projects that genuinely interested him. For him, acting was not only a profession, but also a way to continue telling stories that carry meaning for audiences. One of the most important sources of support during this stage of his life has been Catherine Zeta-Jones, the wife who has been by his side since 2000. Over many years together, the two have faced personal challenges as well as the pressures that come with public attention. Even so, they have maintained a close family life that remains more private than many other well-known couples in the entertainment industry. Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones have 2 children, Dylan and Karis. Both grew up in an environment connected to the film world, yet their parents tried to give them a relatively normal upbringing. As his children became adults, Douglas often shared that family helped him see life differently, more slowly, more thoughtfully, and less driven by the pace of fame. In another aspect of his life, the story involving his eldest son Cameron Douglas also gradually moved in a more positive direction. After confronting the mistakes of his past, Cameron began rebuilding his life and speaking more openly about his journey through that difficult period. For Michael Douglas, his son's progress has been a source of relief and hope. In recent years, Douglas has continued to appear in several film and television projects. One of his notable roles was in the series The Kominsky Method, where he plays an aging acting coach who still holds a deep passion for his craft. The role carries a strong sense of humor, but also reflects on aging, career, and the passage of time. subjects that Douglas himself has been experiencing in real life. Beyond acting, Michael Douglas has also taken part in various social initiatives and programs related to global issues, particularly efforts aimed at promoting peace and international security. For many years, he has worked with international organizations to raise awareness about these issues, a role that shows his influence extends beyond the film industry. After more than half a century in the arts, Michael Douglas is remembered not only for his well-known performances, but also for the way he has moved through many different stages of life. From a young actor working to step out of the shadow of his famous father, to becoming a major Hollywood star, and later confronting illness and family challenges, each period has left its mark on the person he has become. These experiences have given the Michael Douglas of today a calmness and maturity that feel different from earlier years. And he continues to work and appear in public, but at a different pace, slower, more selective, and seemingly more focused on the things that truly matter in life. At the age of 80, Michael Douglas still appears in public, though with a far more measured pace of life than in the past. He continues to attend film events and occasionally takes part in new projects, but he no longer follows the demanding rhythm of the entertainment industry as he once did during the peak of his career. These days, Douglas is often seen at film gatherings, award ceremonies, or social causes he cares about. His image now is no longer that of a star at the height of fame, but of a veteran artist who has moved through many stages of life and career. In recent conversations, he tends to speak more about time, family, and the importance of choosing what truly matters. After more than half a century working in film, Douglas no longer needs to prove his place. Instead, he focuses on more lasting things: family relationships, carefully chosen projects, and social initiatives he believes can have a positive impact. For audiences, Michael Douglas is a familiar face across several eras of cinema. Some remember him for his powerful roles on screen, others remember him as the producer behind a classic film, and many also recall the calm way he has faced challenges in his personal life. In that sense, the story of Michael Douglas is not only the story of a successful actor, it is also the journey of a person who has experienced great heights as well as difficult moments, yet continued moving forward, adjusting along the way, and holding on to what mattered most. At this stage of his life, he still appears with a composed presence, speaking slowly and often referring to his profession with appreciation. Perhaps what many people remember about Michael Douglas is not only the films he has been part of, but the way he has moved through time, without haste, without noise, yet always with the calm steadiness of someone who has lived fully with the path he chose.